Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are here with us, we are going into our first masterclass. And our first masterclass is by our Summit US Chair, Dr. Ramona Houston. Dr. Ramona Houston is the founder and chief strategist of Kalira Strategies, based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. And she's also one of our longstanding partners who has worked with us as a magazine contributor, columnist on our magazine, focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And on this same topic, Dr. Ramona has co-authored our first publication, which we launched last year, and it's called Fit for the Future, a guidebook for nonprofits to thrive in a changing world. And Dr. Ramona's chapter is in the book. We are so honored to have her come here today to share with us why is diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, DEI&A, important to the success of your organization. This is a wonderful time for you to learn from her and also to ask questions on how you can actually adopt this in your organization in a day that we have had as our special remarks speaker, Alvin Klim, said that diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility is many people don't want to adopt it anymore, and it's actually being kicked out of many organizations. And this is your opportunity to learn why it's important and why you need to adopt it in your organization and champion for it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Ramona Houston. Welcome. Dr. Ramona, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Ramona Houston, and I am a social impact strategist and champion of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, also referred to as DEI&A. And I help organizations to grow their enterprises through implementing their social impact vision. First of all, of course, I would like to thank Dr. Caroline Opende and the NGO Whisperer for their leadership and their partnership and collaboration in developing this global summit. It has indeed been a pleasure to serve as the U.S. chair. And secondly, I'd like to thank Dr. Opende and the NGO Whisperer Center for Social Impact, the opportunity to speak at this impactful conference. I have participated in this conference since its founding. And so this is the third year of the summit and my third year serving as a speaker. My educational background is centered on American race relations and history, and that's how I entered the DEI&A space. I am an American historian focusing on American history and race relations. So I evaluate and analyze DEI&A from a racial lens as a scholar. But I'm also the founder of Kalira Strategies, and I'm the chief strategist of Kalira Strategies. And we also implement DEI&A strategies in our efforts to help organizations make a social impact. So I'm here to talk to you about how to develop a DEI&A strategy. As we've discussed previously, as our keynote speaker Alvin Glenn mentioned and Dr. Opende mentioned, DEI&A is threatened all over the world, not just in the United States, but in other countries. And so we really, really need to reevaluate how we embrace DEI&A and serve as leaders in our community to make sure that we embrace all aspects of our community and also serve all aspects of our community. Having a DEI&A strategy is a significant component in driving innovation and impact in your communities. So are you one of those people, one of those leaders or community activists that wants to develop strategies that empower your organization to achieve its vision? If so, you should consider DEI&A as an important aspect of your overall strategy. Research shows that organizations who champion DEI&A possess a competitive advantage. DEI&A drives innovation, increases employee engagement and volunteer engagement, expands your resources, enhances your brand reputation, which leads to more visibility, support, and increased resources, meaning human resources, in-kind resources, and financial resources. Now, as a former college professor and public speaker, I believe in interactive learning. I believe that no one has a monopoly on knowledge. So I really embrace your participation in this workshop, in this masterclass, by you providing comments and giving us questions throughout this session. So let's begin by looking at social responsibility. We need to talk about that because we need to put DEI and A in its context. Social responsibility is the business practice of contributing to the well-being of society. And as you know, as leaders of nonprofit organizations and NGOs, non-governmental organizations, we have an individual and collective responsibility to advance in social responsibility. It's an essential business strategy. It's good for our organizations and it's good for our society. And so we know that NGOs and nonprofits are all about contributing to society. So we know you understand the component of social responsibility. So there are several main practices that we can mention that is a part of social responsibility. Philanthropy, giving financially or in kind or through your services to organizations or to different individuals. That's philanthropy. We know that community engagement is a part of social responsibility and involving the communities that you serve. We know that ethical business and labor practices are important in social responsibilities because we always want to treat people well who are employed by us. Environmental sustainability is important to social responsibility, and racial and social justice is also important. Now, these are just various practices within social responsibility, but there are also many more. A significant component of social responsibility is social impact. That's the whole purpose of engaging in social responsibility, is to make a social impact, a significant positive change that addresses a pressing social challenge. All of you who are leaders within NGOs and nonprofits, your particular organization has a specific social impact initiative that it is addressing, whether you're talking about homelessness, education, housing, gender equality, access to water, clean water. All of you are involved in social impact because that's what we do as leaders of nonprofits and non-governmental organizations. Looking at DEI&A and its relationship to social responsibility and social impact, DEI&A falls in all of these efforts, social responsibility efforts that we talked about before, but it also has many, many, many benefits if you engage in DEI&A as a leader of your organization. As a champion of DEI&A, you will have a competitive advantage, and we'll talk about this later, because you are engaging the insights, the experiences, the knowledge and expertise of many aspects of the community versus just depending on one particular group. You will engage in social responsibility because you are a DEI&A advocate and champion. You will also be advancing your own individual and collective social responsibility, and you will make a social impact. So let's go into defining all four of the terms: diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. When we look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, a lot of people are like, why do we have so many terms? And the reason we have four different terms is because as you all know, as society evolves, our meanings to words evolve. And what we end up seeing is where we started off as with the term diversity, we see that diversity did not solve the social challenges that we wanted to address. So therefore, each term refers to a different aspect of marginalization that we needed to address as a community. So let's begin by defining each of the terms. Diversity. Diversity is the practice of supporting the presence of difference within your organization. And as you know, difference is expressed in a variety of ways, in multiple ways. The ways people identify others, as well as in the ways people identify themselves. Diversity is expressed in gender difference, sexuality, religion, nationality, race, ethnicity, class, disability or ability, thinking, communication styles, age, political affiliations, language, socioeconomic background, status, and so much more. So, what we know is that diversity is not an identity, it's relational, it's reflected through composition. Equity is the practice of instituting a standard of fairness and identifying and eliminating barriers within your organization. Now, equity evolved out of diversity because people who were brought into various organizations who were seemingly of diverse backgrounds were not necessarily having the same experiences as people within the organization. In fact, many people had been marginalized and do not have the same opportunities within the organization. So, understanding that disadvantages exist, equity identifies and eliminates barriers and attempts to challenge and level the playing field. Equity addresses challenges with access, considering that there are different starting points in an organization. And equity creates ways to elevate marginalized groups to level the playing field. So, for example, in education, some people may have the opportunity to have an advanced education because they have the financial resources. So, therefore, in order to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to attend college, then there are different methodologies used or strategies used to ensure that other groups of people get the opportunity to attend college. For example, by offering scholarships, by creating other means of entry into the college campus. So, equity actually levels the playing field to ensure that all people have access to information, opportunity, and resources. And one way that we as organizations, an example of how we can promote equity in organizations is by possibly taking photos and names off of applications to ensure that the people that we are evaluating, we are not biased in our decision making in terms of bringing people into our organizations. Inclusion. Inclusion is the practice of creating a welcoming environment. You welcome the contribution and participation of everyone in an inclusive organization. And inclusivity is all about culture. You want to design a culture and create a culture that is inclusive through your policies, through your process, and through your spaces. Inclusion starts with you and how you act. Inclusion ensures that everyone feels welcome, respected, supported, and valued. So, for example, in inclusion, people may invite you to a party, but you're not invited to dance. So, therefore, you're not really a part of the party. So, in an inclusive organization, you want to make sure that you create an environment where everybody can participate in all aspects of the organization. Accessibility. Accessibility is the practice of eliminating barriers to entry. Accessibility provides equitable access to everyone in your organization, regardless of their ability. Accessibility is more than supplying public accommodations. such as the American Disabilities Act, also called the ADA, which creates accessibility in the physical environment, but accessibility eliminates all types of barriers. Accessibility ensures that access is neither impossible nor difficult. And accessibility begins with design. Through design, organizations can take a proactive instead of a reactive approach to addressing parity. Design empowers organizations to ensure that all people can fully access and use its resources. Through design, organizations create accommodations and modifications that enhance access and use. One of the things that you must consider in embracing accessibility as a leader of your organization is that design, as stated, is so important. It's hard to make an organization accessible after you have already created the program. So, for example, if we're dealing with ADA and you are awarding someone and giving someone an honor award and you don't have a ramp to the stage, that's a part of design. You can't create the ramp once the program has started. You need to consider the ramp in advance of the program. One of the critiques that Dr. Caroline and I talk about in terms of philanthropic organizations is that these organizations are saying, hey, our application is open to everyone. Everybody can apply. But when it's time to apply, the accessibility is very difficult because of the lack of the information needed to complete the application, and also the lack of internet and all the other factors that are involved in applying for financial assistance. So that's why accessibility is so important in design. I know of an organization in Atlanta who created a program to feed the homeless, and then they had the program and nobody showed up. The reason is because it was inaccessible. There was no transportation provided or way or means of these people accessing the location where the food was. So that's why accessibility is so important in design. Accessibility ensures that everyone has a means of entry to utilize all physical spaces, services, products, programs, information, opportunities, and events within your organization. So, having a DEI and A strategy is essential to developing a successful and sustainable organization. It helps you to grow in multiple ways. So, let's look at that. Why is DEI and A so important to the success of your organization? I'm sure you're thinking, I am a small organization, so why should I incorporate DEI and A into my growth strategy? Well, there are many reasons. There is definitely a business case for the diversity of knowledge, skills, experience, backgrounds, and perspectives because that strengthens your organizations. One, DEI and A and having it that type of strategy increases your talent pool. You will be able, as an organization, to access the best and the top talent that you want in terms of knowledge and expertise to add to your organization. And you need to look in terms of the talent pool. You need to look at it in terms of employees, in terms of interns, in terms of volunteers. As you heard from Mr. Alvin Glimp earlier today, that the educational literacy program that they instituted, they began to incorporate elders into the program, which had numerous rewards that they never thought about because many times we marginalize the our seniors, but yet they have so much to add in terms of increasing value of our various programs, initiatives, and projects. So we see that by embracing DEINA, it can increase your talent pool. Secondly, it improves employee performance, engagement, commitment, and productivity. We know that diverse teams outperform homogenous groups. And we know that when people are happy, employees happy, and volunteers happy, interns, that they create better performance. So it it really improves performance when you have a DEI and A strategy. It generates creativity and innovation. Imagine having all these different ways and perspectives of addressing one single problem. When you engage all the different skills, knowledge, and expertise, when you have a diverse team, you are able to generate more creative ideas and innovative ideas in solving the social challenges that your particular NGO is seeking to address. It prompts better decision making. Having a DEI and A strategy and incorporating it into your organization allows you to look at challenges from all types of viewpoints and perspectives. And by doing so, you're able to figure out various ways of solving a problem. And so it is definitely helps you with better decision making. It enhances employee retention. And as you know, it's harder, it costs more to find another employee than making sure that you keep good employees. So it reduces cost. Having a DEI and A strategy provides access to expanded networks. So instead of just tapping into this one group in terms of resources, you're able to delve into many, many groups, which will enhance your team. It strengthens your brand reputation because people want to work for, they want to do business with, and they want to invest in organizations that have diverse strategies. It helps you to attract more customers and increase your revenue. And in terms of race, it closes the racial gap. And we know that through the GDP study that Citibank did, that if we had closed the racial gap in the United States, we would have increased our GDP to over $20 billion. And of course, having a DEI and A strategy advances the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Change, however, does not happen without effort. And to fully incorporate and implement DEI and A strategies requires intentionality. Your organization must be deliberate and committed. Organizations committed to DEI and A also realize that efforts are not a one-time fix. They understand that transformation is a constant iteration process. Organizations must continuously and systematically identify and address their internal and external challenges. And by doing so, leaders and teams will build a diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible organization. So let's look at how to create your DEI strategy as an organization. I have outlined 10 steps in this process. Number one is leadership. As you all know, leadership matters. Leadership shapes our organizational culture. It sets standards and expectations. And we need, when we look at leadership, we need to look at all levels of leadership in our organization, from the executive level to the management level to the ground level. We need to look at leadership in terms of people in positions and look at leadership in terms of people of influence. And with leaders, we need leaders with vision. We need leaders who understand how to inspire. We need leaders that know how to execute a DEI and A strategy. And then we also need leaders that understand accountability. Vision, inspiration, execution, and accountability, all of those are pertinent to leadership in advancing a DEI and A strategy. Next is company culture. If you're going to have a DEI and A strategy, you need to create a culture within your organization that embraces DEI and A. Culture shapes environment, and if you need to reflect, your organization must reflect diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So what I always say, people must be as they become. So company culture is so important to DEI&A. Training and professional development. Training and professional development in your DEI&A strategy is so important because you have to develop an educational system where people can understand how to address their unconscious biases, because people make decisions based on their own backgrounds and experiences. And that's why education is so important. Number 4, recruitment and retention. You need to recruit people in your organization who value and support DEI and A initiatives. That means from your leadership to your employees, your volunteers, and your interns. Make sure that you work to create an environment where people that you recruit and the people that you attempt to retain are people who embrace DEI and A. Supplier diversity. Supplier diversity in your supply chain and your participation in supplier diversity programs are so important because you want to make sure that you do business with organizations and companies that embrace your values as a DEI and A champion. Number 6, develop strategic partnerships and alliances by building relationships throughout the community with those that embrace DEI and A and can be a resource to your organization as you continue your process improvement. One of the things that we are focusing in on this particular summit is the importance of strategic partnerships and alliances, which is one of the SDGs. And so make sure that you do community outreach to those organizations that support DEI and A. Communication, number 7. In your DEI and A strategy, you need to have a communication strategy. Effective communication is so important. Communication is important internally for your organization and externally. Internally, you need to communicate your strategies for DEI&A and your expectations, and people need to be held accountable for their actions as stated earlier. You have to communicate your plan and your process, and it's a continuous process improvement. People need to know, they need to know that DEI&A is an expectation. Embracing it within your organization is an expectation, and that people should embrace that particular strategy. Next is commitment. And commitment, as you know, is essential to accomplishing any goals. You have to be dedicated as a leader, as an organization, to your goals and objectives in DEI&A. 9 is relationships and networks. Build relationships and networks with all types of communities so that your organization can reflect diversity. When you build relationships in diverse communities and embrace them, there's no limit to what you can accomplish because you have access to a variety of resources. And then lastly, you have to continue to keep your social impact strategy top of mind. Like I stated, every NGO and every nonprofit has their own social impact vision. So use that, so your social impact strategy, to figure out a way how to incorporate DEI and A into that strategy. And that's through community engagement. And actually, I shouldn't have said for community engagement and actually applying the resources to your DEI and A strategy. So we're in the 4th quarter now. So now is the time to develop your DEI and A strategy for 2024 and beyond. And by developing your DEI and A strategy now, you will contribute to the growth and success of your organization. So with that being said, I am now open for questions and comments if there are any. Thank you.